Welcome, ladies and gents. The name's Ben, and the Destiny 2 beta is over. From what I've read on the forums and Twitter feeds, the Destiny community seems to be torn on whether Destiny 2 will meet expectations or not. For some it holds exciting promises, and for others it seems to have fallen short. For me, it's a mix of both. I'm excited about the game because it promises a lot of group activities that have yet to be discovered and completed. This includes raids we have yet to hear about, and new PvP game modes like Survival. Survival, if you don't know, is a game mode where teams of 4 get a finite number of lives and no revives. How exciting is that? I am, however, hoping they tweak a number of aspects of PvP and PvE before the game's release. These recommendations follow some excessive beta playtime, and I feel, well, if some of the major changes don't happen before launch, then I suspect it'll be a good 4 to 5 months before they actually do. So without further ado, first up, the recovery rate. As per the beta build, it takes roughly 7 to 10 seconds to be fully recharged and battle ready in Destiny 2. Is this due to lack of recovery boosting armor pieces, or is it the basis for how the game will function in September? Can't say, but if it is the latter, it needs to be improved. Personally, I saw nothing wrong with the way recovery operated in Destiny 1, so I don't see why we couldn't go back to that. Number 2, the super charge rate. During the beta, the only time that I felt like I was playing Destiny was when Zavala was generating those massive orbs that gave you your super in less than, I don't know, a third of the time it takes you to get super in regular Crucible. But that's it. The earliest I've been able to get my super in-game was the 4-minute mark. And even then, I couldn't make it to a second super because by then, the Crucible games were over. That's got to change. In an earlier video, I suggested making supers the equivalent of kill streaks, so that even the most casual of blues could get one simply by team shooting. But I suspect that may be a recipe for steamrolling if you run into the wrong team, so how about just increase the charge rate or offer bonus energy on assisted kills instead of giving people a false sense of going ham? I got my first no-kill, triple kill last week. It was nuts. It's going in the montage, so I can't show it here, but ain't that bada bleep? Number 3, hit registration. Here's an example of what should not happen. Neither should this. I heard reports that the beta will be significantly different to the version we'll see in September, so I'm hoping by then these little glitches just get snuffed out. Number 4. Tertiary abilities. For a game that's promoting team-oriented playstyles over the lone wolf playstyle of Destiny 1, the Destiny 2 beta revealed some class abilities that seemed very out of place. Here's the logic behind the current abilities and the role they're supposed to play in a team-based shooter, as I understand it. Warlocks. They can deploy healing or empowering rifts to assist teammates and themselves in an engagement or when defending the objective. Titans can also contribute to the team's longevity with their barriers. Not to mention the insta-reload with the smaller barricade. Hunters can do nothing of the sort for their team. Yes, they can be a little slippery, but any attacker will have 10 seconds to chase them down and shoot them. The insta-reload dash and shadestep seem to just delay the inevitable, at least when facing equally skilled opponents, which is all the time, and this needs to change. How is another question, and one I'd like to leave to you all, so type at me about it. Number 5, motion sensor visibility. In Destiny 2, the motion sensor functions essentially the same as it did in Destiny 1, but it does have a long refractory period, which means it isn't as readily visible after aiming down sight as it was in Destiny 1. In panic, close quarter situations, you're almost better off trying to locate your opponent visually than rely on that. This is especially frustrating when using the golden gun, because by the time you take a look at the motion sensor, your supers almost run out. I should mention that there is a good chance that an artifact like Memory of Gileon, which we saw in Destiny 1, will be made available in Destiny 2 and completely eliminate the refractory period when using primary weapons. We didn't get to see that in the beta, and if such artifact exists, well, then there's just 9 things I'd like to see changed in the full game. Number 6. During the first few months of Destiny 2, the player population will be at its highest. Personally, I think this is where Bungie should shy away from limiting the variety of game modes because matchmaking wait times will be at their shortest. The more playlists we get to see at the start of the game, the better the chance that people will find something they really like and can come back to. If you don't hook the casual player population with fun game modes at the start of the game, they're less likely to come back when the fun stuff comes out later in the game's life cycle. If game modes like Rumble or Mayhem are made into DLC related playlists, by then I feel it may be too late. just like introducing private matches in the third year of Destiny 1 was for some in the competitive community. According to the most recent reports, we'll be getting 5 game modes on launch and 10 maps to play on. All I'm gonna say is these game modes better be the most amazing game modes in the history of game and modes. Number 7. Resilience or armor when supercharged. This is another case of a picture speaks 1,000 words, so I'm better off showing you what should not happen. Exhibit A. Super Guardians should require massive team effort to neutralize. It's almost easier to kill a Guardian with a super than it is one with a gun. Generally, they're slower than most Guardians. They're announced in the kill feed, so it's never a surprise, and they're extremely squishable. However, there is a good chance that those examples may have been the result of chokeage. Number 8. Neutral game balance. Neutral game in this case will refer not only to grenades, melees, and special abilities, but also abilities or talents tied to specific nodes in a subclass tree. The fact that grenades are only accessories in Destiny 2 makes me more happy than I can explain, but some classes clearly have the advantage where mobility perks are concerned. Dawnbladers, for example, have an innate dash ability that is almost a functional equivalent of the Hunter Dash or Shadestep. Yes, the latter two do grant additional perks, but they're on much longer cooldowns than the Dawnblader's dash. If I'm not mistaken, it's roughly 10 seconds to dash with the Dawnblade. The end result? Well, on one hand, you'll have Warlocks that can dash behind cover and deploy a healing rift to get battle ready. On the other hand, you have Hunters that can dash behind cover but can't re-engage because they're busy being almost dead. Why don't they just run away then? Good point. Yes, you're right. They do. But then the game becomes a hide-and-seek simulator instead of a war game. Number 9. Power weapon balance. As most of you know, all the montage utilities have now been placed in the power weapon slot. But from my time playing the beta, I've learned that not all power weapons are equally useful to securing the objective or just slaying for that matter. Rocket launchers grant a single round, amounting to 2 kills at most. Fusion rifles grant 6 rounds, amounting to about 4 to 6 kills unless you're blindfolded. Shotguns, roughly the same. Low-impact snipers like the Copperhead and linear fusion rifles grant 6 bullets, if I'm not mistaken, and amount to roughly 3 kills, unless you're getting bullet-peppered, grenaded, meleeed, or receiving an evil eye from that one salty teammate, in which case you'll get probably 0 kills. Grenade launches, from what I saw, take about 2 hits to kill. Personally, I think a direct hit with these should cause death and a crispy beanbag smack stick figure symbol in the kill feed somewhere. Last, and probably the most important change that I would love to see, and not only me, but I'm pretty sure 99% of people would agree with this one: isolating PvE and PvP changes. There is this notion that Bungie in the past has avoided making weapons and abilities behave differently in PvP and PvE for fear that people would find it difficult to adjust to one after playing the other. But there is precedence for the opposite in Destiny 1. Remember modifiers? Anyone that's run more than one Nightfall knows to check the modifiers when they touch down. Then they make the appropriate weapon/subclass adjustments and prepare to go ham. Afterward, if they decide to hop into the Crucible, all they took with them was the joy of getting that one exotic, or the sad face of getting 19 strange coins, which is why PvE modifiers like Daybreak were so welcomed, and they should be standard, or at least frequent recurrence, because they've made PvE fun and hurt absolutely nobody in real life. No one that played PvP after playing a Nightfall was confused by the absence of these modifiers. We can compartmentalize the two, Bungie. True facts. Personally, I'm a PvP main, but I love raiding, and a little part of me dies every time something that is great for mob control gets nerfed because of PvP-inspired tweaks. So, dear Bungie, if you'll listen to anything, just listen to this one, please. Implement changes to each separately and slap a modifier to said changes in PvE. We'll be fine. Anywho, those are my thoughts. I'm suggesting these as someone who will definitely play the game whether or not Bungie makes any of these changes, let's be real. But here's hoping they do. I'm banking on Destiny 2 bringing back a lot of people that have abandoned Destiny 1 at the start of year 2. Nowadays, video games aren't fun unless you have friends that are equally excited about it. But what were your first impressions of the beta? And are you hoping Bungie has more in store on launch day? Type at me about it. Until next time.